Joining us, staff writer at The Atlantic, Yvonne Wingett Sanchez, co-host of the Prof G Markets podcast, Ed Elson, and co-host of FAQ NYC podcast, and associate professor of political science at Fordham University, Christina Greer. Yvonne, thanks for being with us. I want to hear more about these conversations.
I talk to voters like you all the time. I spent a lot of time in two of the nation's most competitive House districts, which are located here in Arizona. One is based in Scottsdale, very wealthy, very educated. The other is outside of Phoenix, sort of in the southeastern part of the state. Voters, no matter where you go, are very angry. Trump voters are feeling the effects of the decision to go to war in Iran, and they are directly connecting that decision to the president. There's no middlemen here who can be blamed for this sort of decision. This is a very direct correlation. They are canceling summer vacations. They are pulling back purchases for their small businesses. They are skipping Bible classes. And come November, they may skip voting altogether, or they may vote for Democrats or a third-party candidate. And in a state where statewide races are decided on the margins, and these races will be decided by perhaps just a few hundred voters, maybe a few thousand, these sorts of sentiments really start to matter. They really come into focus, and they're coming into focus now with people getting walloped at the pocketbooks and Trump coming into town today.
Were you as surprised as I was to hear voters express regret for having voted for Donald Trump? There was a brief moment, maybe after January 6th, where people felt that, maybe just a brief one. But usually it's pretty hard to find anyone saying that they thought they made a mistake.
It was really interesting to hear people put their names behind it. Like, these are people who need to go on the record to say, I'm not down with what's happening. And that to me was pretty surprising, especially in Representative Juan Ciscomani's district. This is a district that really represents the coalition, the MAGA coalition that Trump assembled in 24. Lots of Latino voters, lots of working class voters. I mean, these are people who are paying $6 a gallon in diesel. And for them to be willing to say on the record, a lot of Catholic voters, too, keep in mind. So the 1-2 punch with the fight with the Pope, the F-bomb, on Easter, and the effects that they're feeling at their grocery stores, where they are paying $6 or $9.50 for chicharrones in a rural town outside of Phoenix. They are feeling it, and they're so angry that they're willing to put their names behind it.
That is an insane price. Let me play Donald Trump talking about gas prices.
How much longer will Americans continue to see these high gas prices?
Well, they're not very high. If you look at what they were supposed to be in order to get rid of a nuclear weapon. Don't forget, we're having some fake inflation because of the fuel, the energy prices. The numbers are really tremendous, and that's why I'm out here. If they were bad, I wouldn't be here today. I'd be sitting home watching television.
All right, so gas prices are not that high, Christina. Inflation is fake. The refund numbers are great. By the way, we've done the math on the refund. The average refund, $350. The average household cost of gas for this year is going to be around $740. These are $350, by the way, is above last year's refund. So it's been wiped away, completely wiped away, and more by the cost of gas. And the president, does he sound like he's in touch?
No, not at all. And Yvonne's fantastic piece sort of laid out, Americans go to the polls for pocketbook issues. And we have seen Donald Trump's voters ignore realities in the past. So when he says, well, housing prices might be a little bit more, you'll be fine with it. And by and large, they were going along with a lot of things because, as you said, that January 6th disappointment did not last very long. But that also wasn't a direct pocketbook issue. That was more of a moral issue. And we know that his diehard supporters don't really care about moral issues when it comes to this particular president. What we're seeing now is something drastically different. We're seeing people have to change their lives on a daily basis because of choices he's made. He made a lot of promises, specifically America being first. So it wasn't as though Iran attacked America or American bases or even American allies in a specific or explicit way. Donald Trump chose to ally himself with Bibi Netanyahu and go into Iran. And a lot of Americans, one, are still looking for justification because, two, all of their pocketbook issues have skyrocketed since that decision was made, which he said would be done in a few days once his bones felt that it was finished.
So one of the voters that we heard from was a woman, Ed, who voted for the first time last election. It was for Donald Trump. She's 19. And she's been so distressed by what she's seeing, or so frustrated, disillusioned, that her response was, I don't believe in the system at all, which is not, it's a pretty common thing to hear, especially from younger voters. Why participate in this system? It's not working for me. It's rigged. How does a party or a candidate that wants to convince a voter to come out and vote for them promise to be somebody for the future, not just, as I said, a check on the present?
Well, that's going to be the question for the Democratic Party, but I think it's going to be pretty easy in contrast to what we've seen from this administration, because, I mean, the reason that young people, especially right now, don't trust in the system is because in this election cycle, they've been lied to flat out on basically every single issue. And this is what I think is quite stunning about the piece and also some of the interviews that we saw there. I mean, Americans have kind of a tolerance for BS. We've seen that in the past, but so I think what we're beginning to learn here is their tolerance isn't that high. And they've been lied to too many times now on too many different issues. We mentioned a couple of them. The foreign wars one is a perfect one because it is so in your face. It's so obvious. This was the no wars president. He was getting angry at the previous administration for being involved in other wars. And, of course, he launches an offensive on Venezuela, but then more importantly, he launches an attack and a war on Iran. We also talked about the inflation problem. This was the big idea. He's going to bring down inflation. And, of course, he does two things that are the most inflationary policy actions you could ever come up with, which is creating these tariffs, then also launching this war, which increases the oil prices. But then there are other things like balancing the budget. And this was the thing he said in the first congressional address that got all of the applause. We're going to balance the budget. Elon Musk comes in there. He creates Doge. We're going to get rid of $2 trillion worth of spending. And of course, they increase the deficit. We're on track to $2.5 trillion in deficit spending this year. That was another one. Get rid of corruption in the White House, get rid of corruption in D.C., and then we see this explosion in insider trading. Housing prices is another one. He says he wants to increase the price of housing because he wants to make homeowners even wealthier. I mean, there are so many different issues on which he has fundamentally lied in such a big way that I think it gets to a point for Americans and for young people and for all of this, frankly, which is we're starting to recognize all of this was a lie. Not just a little piece of this, but literally all of it. And it's becoming too much at this point.
Well, let me play another voter basically saying that. This is Jesse Wilbur. We don't have this sound? Jesse Wilbur, owner of Survival. You know, we don't have it, unfortunately. But he says, I did believe Drain the Swamp. It never happened. I believed in accountability. That wasn't that it was coming. It never happened. I believed things would be different and that they are different in a lot of ways that I really love, but not for the most important ways. My priorities are simple: God, family, country, faith, morality, values, and truth. Those come before any man, before any party. This is how great nations fail: when people stop questioning, when loyalty replaces principles. That's when countries fail, because history shows it comes when leaders and institutions lose all credibility. We already went through that blank with Obama and Biden. I supported him and I was wrong. He has done a lot of damage. He's got to undo it, and I really hope he does. I mean, I wish we had the soundbite, because that's pretty well said, and it lines up exactly with what Ed was saying. Christina.
Right. Well, I mean, this gentleman's a little late to the party in the sense that, you know,
yeah, but you know what? Is it a good idea to say you should have known better, or do you say, okay, fine, you see it now, let's move forward?
Listen, I'm an educator. I'm glad when you see the light. However, Donald Trump showed us a lot of this in the first term, and there are a lot of people who just refuse to recognize it. It's essentially the rest of the country has become New York now. New Yorkers have known Donald Trump for decades, and he has been a grifter. He has never lived up to his word. Every company he's had, he's bankrupted. And so he has just been a colossal failure in the city of New York. But with great advertising and marketing, people have thought that he was a successful businessman, and he's a great communicator. And he taps into people's fears and their desires and their aspirations. And there's a reason why he has won twice in this country. We can go through all the list of reasons why.
Yeah.
But for now, though, in the present, when Americans are saying, you seem distracted by this ballroom, you seem distracted by this arch, you seem distracted by this war, you seem distracted by fighting with the Pope, who represents 1.2 billion people.
Posting images of yourself as Jesus.
As Jesus that are doctors, so now you think you're a doctor. You are rambling when we're supposed to have meetings about national and international ideas, and you're talking about pens and windows. Like, there is a lack of focus, and I don't know if it's, I'm not that kind of doctor, but I don't know if there's something cerebrally wrong and challenged with the president that we need to focus on, or if he's just distracted and he thinks that he's so used to throwing so much at the American public, they've usually just allowed him to do so.
That Donald Trump could live in this city for as long as he did and not know what a corner store is?
Oh, no. I mean,
I think Brooke Astor knew what a corner store is.
Exactly.
Like, how could you not?
But I think that the cognitive decline that we are witnessing in real time, that we are pretending that we're not witnessing in real time, is something that
makes me wonder.
Is
have you
curious.
just forgotten?
Yes.
Have you forgotten what the word groceries means?